Hello again, class. Back to Othello, Act 1, Scene 2. Let me just review a few of the terms, right? Duplicity, Iago's duplicity. Again, dishonesty. Uh, Seeming versus being, his declarations, right? That he will not act in a manner consistent with his intentions. He declares that to us. He tells Rodrigo, he tells us, he is duplicity personified. In this scene, we're about to see Othello's equanimity. And just as in the beginning of the play, Hamlet, we see the character is logical. He's not going to just go kill Claudius unless he has proof. And then once he gets his proof, his hubris, right, takes over. He is no longer humble, right? He does not have humility, and his hubris fuels his illogical decision making. He loses his equanimity because it's fueled by his behavior. His thoughts are fueled by hubris, by hidden assumptions, by unrational emotions. In the beginning of Macbeth, we also see that Macbeth is logical. He says, there's no reason for me to kill Duncan. There's going to be backlash. It's not going to be the be all and end all. But then Lady Macbeth, through illogical emotional appeals, through logical fallacies, letting her hubris fuel her behavior, allows him to lose that sense of composure. And he even tells us before he goes to kill Duncan, he doesn't want to do it, but right, she rings the bell and he does it. So we see when characters lose that sense of equanimity, their decision-making process is not fueled by critical thinking strategies. Instead, it's fueled by rashness and emotions. In the beginning of Othello, he also has that equanimity. And in Act 1, Scene 2, we see that, right? They come upon him and he makes some really interesting replies. They're talking about, the idea of murdering someone, and we see Iago seems to be very moral. Again, seems, his outward appearance. But let's skip to the confrontation, if you would. Right? They say, "Who's coming?" Right? And the servants of the Duke. Right? Othello says, "The goodness of the night upon you, friends. What is the news?" Right? He's very forthright, not expecting what happens. Right? And the Duke, Brabantio, right, comes upon him, right, and says, Iago says, "Be advised, he comes to bad intent," right, and essentially, right, so Othello first greets his friends. He's greeting Cassio. He's greeting Iago. He's very happy. I mean, he's just been married. He's unexpecting. He's very frank. He's unexpecting of what's about to come. Right? Iago kind of gives him a warning, and Othello, when he greets them, says, "Holla, stand there." I almost wonder if, right? I mean, it is kind of a catchphrase these days in hip hop songs, right? Holla, holla. Did they get it from Othello? Perhaps Ja Rule, right, was reading Othello. Just saying. And so Brabantio immediately accuses him of being a thief. They draw their swords. Now, this is where his equanimity comes in. Right? He says, "Keep up your bright swords, for the dew will rust them. Good Signor, you shall command more with your years than with your weapons." What is he saying there? He's basically saying, Brabantio, because of your ethos, I respect you. Right? So you don't have to draw the swords on me. Right? I will comply with your requests out of respect. But if you're going to keep your swords up, the dew will rust them. Right? I mean, think about what he's saying here, right? If somebody pulls a knife on you and you say, "Oh, you might want to put that away because it's just going to get rusty in the dew of the evening air, the dew of the morning air." Again, what are you saying? You're essentially suggesting that they're not going to have an opportunity to use it, right? So what he's saying, put your swords away. because they're just going to get rusty. You're not going to use them. He's very cool, calm, and collected, right? He's equanimity personified in this moment. I mean, somebody draws a sword on you and that's your response. It's very cool. Brabantio calls him a foul thief. You stole my daughter. You must have used magic, right? You know, and he says, lay a hold upon him, subdue him. And he says, hold your hands, both of you inclining in the rest. Were it my cue to fight, I should know without a prompter. Now, remember, a prompter was the person that if someone forgot their lines, they were sitting below the stage, right? And if someone was like, be, they'd be like, or not, right? They'd give you a prompt. So what is he saying? He's basically saying, if I was supposed to fight, I don't need someone to tell me to fight. Hold your hands, both of you, both you of my inclining and the rest. Were it my cue to fight, I should have known it without a prompter, right? Basically, he's saying, if we're going to fight, I'm going to start it. Right? Again, he's cool, calm, and collected. So where do you want me to go? Right? And Brabantio says, you know, to prison, and he says, okay, what if I do obey? I'm on my way actually to the courthouse right now to go see the Duke. Right? So the scene concludes with Othello heading to the courthouse with Brabantio. And again, notice how Brabantio accuses him of these things, and Othello says, I'll answer your accusations. I'll go where you want me to go. And if we're going to fight, I'm going to be the one to start it, which is just, he's just cool, calm, and collected. Now, it's very important to note that just as the characters Macbeth and Hamlet demonstrate that equanimity, demonstrate those critical thinking skills, they demonstrate logic, but then they abandon it because of their hubris, because of their illogical emotional appeals, because of logical fallacies. We also will see Othello lose his equanimity and lose his critical thinking skills later in the play because of Iago's appeal to irrational emotions, hidden assumptions, and fallacies. So Shakespeare does a nice job of setting the characters up and showing us that they do possess those critical thinking skills, and which makes their fall even more tragic when they abandon those skills and their behaviors and actions are fueled by hubris and hidden assumptions and logical fallacies and illogical emotional appeals. So we'll pick up with Act 1, Scene 3 in the next video. Thanks for watching. As always, let me know if you have any questions.